Yeah, I did. Pittsfield, Council
Council
Chamber.
Chambers.
The Pittsfield one.
Oh, now it's telling me I'm
Recording in progress.
We're now official. Heather is on.
Okay, we don't have anybody else on there.
No, we don't.
Okay, I'm not expecting Amanda, I don't think, since last I knew she was in Pennsylvania, so.
Okay. Unfortunately.
She's on her way back, yeah.
Almost here.
All right, so we're all set on Zoom as well as Town Hall stream?
Yes. I double checked that with Susan tonight.
Okay, welcome everyone, this is a regular meeting of the Pittsfield Town Council. Today is Wednesday, August 17th. We're in the Municipal Council chambers as well as via Zoom and Town Hall streams. If we could please open the meeting with Pledge of Allegiance and then a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item is adoption of the minutes of the special meeting held on July 28th, 2021, and regular meeting of the Town Council held on August 3rd, as well as the Town Council budget workshop held on August 10th. If you'd like to take these one at a time, we can do that, or we can have a motion to accept them all as they stand.
I move we accept all as written.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussions, additions, or deletions, counselors? Okay, not hearing any. All those in favor of adopting the minutes as written and presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that will pass. Presentations, congratulations, and introductions. Catherine?
So the first item is we have presentation of certificates by the police chief.
Floor is yours, Chief.
You want me to go up there or stay here?
You can do it either place.
However you want to do it. If you're back there, then you'll be able to be seen on the Zoom.
Okay.
If you come up front, people will just be looking at your back.
Okay. I appreciate everybody letting me come tonight to honor some people. I have a few gift certificates I want to give out to people who have assisted the police department. The first one I want to recognize is Officer Austin Cochran. He's not here. He's in the police academy. And Mike Cray and Austin and Mike back in January. They responded to the Vickery School. Mike was off duty, wasn't even working. He went down there. There was a missing girl, young girl, and they worked together as a team. They located the girl. Mike was instrumental in talking the girl back into the class, and so that's the long story short. But I wanted to thank them both, and I have certificates of appreciation for both of them, and congratulations, and we'll get this other one to Austin when he completes his training. Next one I have is for Kara Cummins and her husband Michael. Back on May 11th, we had a missing girl, believe it or not, a very, very dangerous situation. They went far above and beyond. They located the girl in their backyard. They notified the police, and we responded. It was actually me, and they helped to mitigate a situation that could have been really bad. The young girl was, believe it or not, sitting right beside the brook or little river, and it could have been a horrible tragedy. But because of their efforts, the girl is alive and she's safe, and they did an outstanding job. And it may not seem like a big job to them, but it was a huge job to the police department and everyone in town, and I want to recognize them for doing a great job and just doing the right thing. Thanks, Mike. Good job. All right. Back on May 19th, at about 4:38 in the morning, I got a call for a car accident. It's the first time I've ever responded to a car accident involving a lamb was hit down on South Main Street. But when I got there, Melissa was there, and thank God you were there, because the lamb, or I should say the sheep, was pregnant and had 2 little lambs. And she was a godsend to not only me, but just helping out with everything. The lamb was literally right in the middle of the road on busy Route 100. It was foggy that morning, and I can't tell you enough how much you assisted me and everyone else that was involved in that, and I really appreciated it. And so from everyone on the police department, we wanted to honor you with a certificate of appreciation.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure.
I know she's done this before, and she may have done it just in the last couple of days somewhere else.
Yeah, about a month ago we saved a baby fox.
Yeah.
So it seems to be my thing. Thank you so much.
All right, the next one I've got is a really courageous award. This happened back on February 26th. Long story short, we had a house fire. It came in as a report of a house fire with people trapped. Marty Cochran responded to that fire. He was instrumental in getting people out of the house. There was approximately 6 people in the house. He went into the house, he put his life in danger, and he was actually helping the people get out of the house, and because of that, I'm sure he helped to avert a tragedy in this town. And around that week period, there have been several fatal house fires around the state. So, Marty, I'm recognizing you with a outstanding excellence for certificate of valor for going into that fire. And the next thing I wanted to also recognize, Marty, they'll be getting sworn in next week, but Marty went through an oral board presentation last week, the week before, and we had the chiefs from Skowhegan and Clinton here to help us, and I wanted to thank them publicly. But Marty is being promoted to sergeant, and I wanted to recognize him with a certificate that he can have forever. He's worked here for 20 years. He's done an outstanding job. He'll be a great mentor to me and to all the officers on the department. And he has a lot of street sense and street smarts and common sense, and he'll be a great asset as a sergeant. That's it.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Marty?
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, all I'd like to say is the chief should be recognized for that house fire as well. He showed up right after I did, and he went inside the building himself and helped get the people out as well. So I think he should be recognized for
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Alright, next on our agenda, update from the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation. We have Director Mike Gray here with us this evening.
I'll be brief. It looks like we have a lot of items on your agenda tonight. We had a meeting yesterday in which we basically ratified the action that the council took as far as the project down at the airport. So what that basically means is that we're going to provide $200,000 if needed in any time frame involved, along with a repayment schedule when your grant funding does come about. So that's taken care of. We discussed our involvement with the town as far as the upcoming cheese festival, and in partnership with the town, we're going to be doing a sponsorship down there with signage and our video that the town has. That's a very well attended effort down there. I guess there are 2 separate sessions, correct, Heather? So the attendance is going to be probably far exceed what anybody expects, simply because they weren't able to have it last year. So I think that's an effort that we can stand behind, certainly. We've been discussing how we could help the planning board as far as their subdivision ordinance, and I've read through that thing several times, and I gotta tell you, it looks way too cumbersome to attract any type of subdivision for this town. So we've got to find a way to make it more friendly, to attract people to come here and do an investment as far as a subdivision goes. I think we can do it. There are several models out there. You could correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, but I think the way our subdivision is written, we followed to the letter what the state recommends, and that's about 37 pages worth of information in there that I don't know how anybody would ever follow that and make it, reasonable. So we've got to find a way to do that. There are some models out there. We've identified several large acreages around, so what we want to try to do is contact those landowners and see if they're at all interested in developing any type of subdivision, and then try to put them in touch with people who have the capital and the wherewithal to do that. So, we're not sitting idle, but it is an uphill climb. The way Pittsfield is growing right now, subdivisions are needed. Good subdivisions are needed. So a lot of things going on in that regard, and we're going to do everything we can to help them. If anyone has any questions, we're willing to entertain them, or that's pretty much our update.
We did do a study of a number of communities that we contacted that were our size and larger to get copies of their subdivision ordinances. I tagged the sections that were on the roads and the incentives, and the items that seemed more complex in our ordinance. And so I did provide that information to the planning board, but it was a lot at the time because they had the most projects going on that they had seen over a year period. And then of course we climaxed with more projects than anyone had seen over a 20-year period. So they're pretty much resting now. But if Pete could assist with this, I will package up all the items that I came up with and give them to Pete, and you could look them over. And you would have a different sense in reviewing them. You would be reviewing them for development, so you might review them differently than the planning board. So that might be helpful.
Yeah, I think we have a different perspective on how, me personally or you folks would try to develop a subdivision rather than getting knee deep into the regulations that would simply say, hey, it isn't worth it. So if we can not necessarily shortcut the process, but if we can improve the process, make it attractive for people to invest, that's the name of the game. So, Mike.
So, a quick question for you, Mike. Thank you for coming, by the way. The process for an ordinance change on that, are you familiar with that ordinance enough to say if it's something that we need to have input from the town attorney, or do we, is there a minimum for the state of Maine that we can't broach, or do we know?
I think it's too early to tell in the process. I read through it. To me, if I had $1 million, I wouldn't try to delve into something like that. I just think it's too cumbersome. You've got to make it, within the legal limits, certainly, but you don't have to make it above the legal limits.
So you haven't really chewed on enough to kind of
No, I
get
think
the
it's too
final
early
details.
in the game to do that. So,
All right.
but certainly we're going to look at it. We want to make it attractive to have people come and invest. Certainly, if you look around, there aren't a lot of available properties, and the minute you see a for sale sign, it's gone. And in fact, I know of a couple properties that had bidding wars on, so totally unheard of in our area.
So, a follow-up, if you don't mind. So, if you can share this, if not, I understand. Is there a potential out there? Is there a possibility? Is this an idea that came up, let's make it easier, or is there a possibility out there that we're trying to groom ourselves for?
There are possibilities out there. There are people in neighboring communities who have the wherewithal to do that and have made investments in their communities. What we need to do is try to find a way to attract them to come to Pittsfield. And if we, right now, if we tried that, I don't think we have anything we could offer them. But, we've got to come up with some incentives, number one, the ordinance, and then perhaps if there are any other incentives that we could come up with as far as the town goes. Pete certainly couldn't do anything without council approval, nor would we. So that's where we're at right now. We're just going to keep plugging away at it.
Thank you, Mike.
And anything proposed by Pete that they go through and come up with would come to the council as well, probably to the ordinance committee and then to the council.
Yeah, it's going to be a long process, I think, when you start wading through. If you haven't read any of that, it's pretty dry and pretty cumbersome. So
I think it'd be great if we could set a goal for having something in place in the spring.
Yeah.
So that, that's a good time for developers to be thinking about things.
Oh yeah, no, I certainly, over the winter we certainly could work on that, and I can do it from anywhere that I happen to be. So.
Yep. Thanks, Mike. Does anybody else have any questions for Mike about peak activities?
I have a question.
Sure.
When you're talking subdivisions, Mike, are you talking taking land, dividing up, and actually selling lots to people, or what about the concept of somebody taking their own land and just building a bunch of rental properties?
Brenda, I think any of those scenarios would be welcome in this town. There are some really large tracts of land that are owned by people. I'm talking 300-400 acres. I don't know that they have the wherewithal from a financial standpoint to do that themselves. But there are certainly people out there who do, and if the landowners, I think our job would be to put them in touch, if they think about it, and I think what we need to do is put the idea in their head, try to put them in touch with people who have that financial capability. It could be a win-win for everybody, but certainly small subdivisions, big subdivisions, but there's an awful lot that goes to it as far as infrastructure goes. We just have to take it one step at a time.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks again, Mike. Catherine, that brings us up to projects and grants.
All right, very good. On to some other economic development items, which are projects and grants. And first, I'll mention that we do have a certificate of thanks for the Pittsfield Garden Club. On behalf of our community, the Town Council of Pittsfield would like to thank the Pittsfield Garden Club for placing and filling the tall planters which they bought for the town with colorful flowers and plants that adorns the parking lot entrance to the municipal building. It notes that we greatly appreciate your beautiful contribution. I would say at least 3/4 of the people that come to the town office stop there and look at the flowers. They are beautiful. So that certificate is available for the councilors to sign this evening. Going on to community and economic development activities and events, we would note that we get more and more people watching the meetings, so we want to make sure we advertise our Main Street project, and that our Main Street sidewalk project is a very important project for the town of Pittsfield. The project has been divided into 2 parts as follows. Part 1 is the downtown. The intent of this project is to reconstruct the sidewalk on the north side of Main Street between Central Street and Somerset Avenue to achieve accessibility requirements to increase safety of pedestrian traffic and certainly to improve aesthetics. And so this project involves the replacement of the existing sidewalk concrete to improve accessibility, durability, and aesthetics, reset of the existing granite curbing. The sidewalk bump out at Rennie's has been trimmed to allow for an additional parking spot. Part 2 is the library to the back entrance of the industrial park. And this part of the project is to reconstruct the sidewalk as far as the town can afford, and we've had some good news, so looks like we can do the whole project here. That would be from the railroad tracks to the back entrance of the industrial park. We've heard from our MDOT contact as of today, and they've indicated they are approximately 3 to 4 weeks out on the public information session. So although this is being moved back further and further now into September, they indicate they have a handful of unresolved design issues regarding proposed drainage, 2 to 3 locations between Madawaska Avenue and the Detroit town line. So this is a project that is going from the Detroit town line down to the ending of the urban compact line on Main Street, down to South Main Street. So we're talking about a larger area than our sidewalk project. So their whole, MDOT's whole project is being done at once, so they have to move the whole thing along at once. They're doing a coach point meeting to finalize design for those locations next week. I reminded them that we did want a review of the signals at Main and Honeywell Avenue. At first the state had said that the town had to review this. They then decided that they would review this because it is their road. The region traffic engineer retired, so all the contacts that we had made regarding utilizing our school crossing or crosswalk crossing device that we received have to start all over again. Hopefully they got some notes there about the flashing school zone signs. I gave them the locations again of where we'd like to put them on Main Street, as well as the Heartland Avenue location, because they do need approval before that is placed. And so it looks like the public information session is coming up finally, and once that gets going, things will move a lot faster.
Catherine, do you have the date for that yet?
No, they said 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay.
So as soon as we have that date, the Maine DOT has to advertise that by law, but we will also advertise it.
So maybe next meeting we might know what it is.
I would think so. If they're gonna be done in 3 to 4 weeks, we should be getting closer here.
Okay.
But as soon as I know, you all will know.
Thank you.
And so I would note that as soon as we get the final approval paperwork for the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund project with its grant for the sewer on Main Street, we should get that scheduled, because I think that will help move this project along too. For the Main Street Sidewalk project, we do have our CDBG Community Development Block Grant funding paperwork all approved. We have it back, so the $250,000 is secure through June 30th, 2022. And then I think we'll encumber it with the Main Street project with MDOT escrow account if we have to. The Project Canopy grants will be the next grants we need to work on, in that the trees will need to be planted in September, so we have a lot of steps to go through. We've had such major grants, $1 million grants coming in, $498,000 and now more. So those had to be secured first before we went to these smaller ones, which are fun ones, but they are small grants compared to the others. I did want to report on the Northern Border Regional Grant Project. You got a copy of the letter. We got notified on August 9th that the town's grant application for $245,000 to supplement the funding available for the Main Street project has been approved. That is totally exciting, considering that was the grant application that the grant program that the state had, the electronic one, had malfunctioned, and we had a lot of trouble getting our application in. I still don't know what actually got in there, but it evidently worked, because we were able to get enough points to qualify. So once that grant award is received, it should be approved, and then we can encumber those funds and officially start the project. This will give us additional money to work on the electrical devices and setup on Main Street, as well as for engineering, because the engineers have spent a lot of time on the project, time that they never anticipated spending, because it's dragged along. The Northern Border Regional Commission received 156 applications. They requested more than $81 million in funding, and that was a 16% increase in requests over 2020. Of the 4 steps that were needed to compete for funding, 44 applications were approved, one of which was ours. So that was a highly competitive grant program, and we were really fortunate. We needed the money to help make the Main Street project move forward. We could have done it, but it would have been very, very difficult. We would have had to cut corners and everything, because the pricing has gone up so much since we originally submitted the project for the Community Development Block Grant. But with additional money from the Northern Border Regional Commission, we should be able to have a really nice project. So that is excellent. I would just note that we've got more grant applications going than we've had for a while here, and there will be more money that's available, a lot more, because the stimulus funding is coming in the big infrastructure program. So we're going to need to look that over and see what's available that can help us in the, if there's anything for roads, there may be money for sidewalks. We know there's money for water and sewer, certainly. And so I'll leave you with the point that we do now have 6 airport grants, if you can believe that, ongoing here. So this will be an interesting time as we go forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. Next item on the agenda is public hearings and old business. There's no old business, but we do have a public hearing this evening for ordinance 21-05.
Ordinance 21-05, public hearing. That the town of Pittsfield hereby ordains that Chapter 2, Administrative Code, Division 1, Article 1, Act Section 110, Remote Participation Procedures.
I move we set ordinance 2105 to public hearing.
Well, tonight is our public hearing. So I guess I'm a little off my game. I just need to open a public hearing, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, there was space there, and I'm usually jumping in.
There was a space, and I was debating. I'm like,
Then you gave me that
what do we
look.
do next? Yeah. So this is a public hearing, so we will open the public hearing for comments from the audience this evening regarding ordinance 21-05. Not hearing any, we will close public comments for the hearing. Counselors, any comments or discussion regarding this public hearing on 2105? This is an item we've seen a couple times. We did an emergency enactment of this. The ordinance committee looked at it, brought it back as a regular ordinance change. So this is more of a housekeeping item for us at this point.
So one question I have, just for clarification, will this be used all the time regardless? I mean, is this involved with what we're doing here with Zoom?
It's going to be the same thing as what you have now. You're already set up. We'll continue on as we are. We just need to make sure, because the Maine Municipal Association copy that we used stated that we needed to state the name of the people and do a roll call. So if somebody, a counselor, is on the remote, we do need to do
Right, so it's for the councils only?
Yes.
Yes, but there's still, public can still be there, but they're not governed under the
Exactly,
the
so it's for
rules
the councils
that are
only.
on here.
So if there's no counselor that needs to do Zoom, then we don't need to use this.
We don't need to use the new ordinance, but the people will still be on Zoom and will recognize them.
But on the second page, it says the public will be provided meaningful opportunity to attend via remote methods when any member of the body participates in a remote method. So if nobody's participating by remote, we still have to go let the public come on by
Yes,
remote?
because we won't know who's going to come on, so we just leave it on. Somebody could
Okay.
come on at 8 o'clock, you never know.
Basically, it's the way it is now,
Same
except,
thing.
except that if we go entirely Zoom, we have to identify each and every person that's,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're always gonna have the public be able to come on by Zooming.
Yeah, it's just another means for the public to participate, like you have all the people watching on the remote town hall streams, but you also have this option in case they want to talk.
So if we have the public log into this, we have to stop the meeting, identify who's on there, and continue the meeting for every person that comes on and off.
Well, we know who they are now. The identification is mostly for the town councilors. Like, let's say you have a.
Okay, so if the public logs in, we don't have to acknowledge them or have to have them identify themselves.
If they want, if there's when there's a comment section, Heather would, as our mayor, would ask if the people on Zoom would be interested in
Right,
making
so
a comment.
it's the same procedure as anyone in the audience.
Correct.
Okay, but the only time we would have to identify personnel on there if they're counselors.
Correct, and they're.
Because the public can get off and on and,
Mhm.
okay.
Just like they do now.
Do we have the ability to mute that person or log a person off if they become, if somebody goes on there and just wants to play around?
We've had to do that once, yes.
But, okay, so we have the ability to do that. Is there any legal repercussions available for that? Because someone could make an argument that we're not allowing them to exercise their civil rights.
They could make that argument here in the room. We just have to use our common sense as to how long the discussion.
Right,
should go
you
on.
just said they make the argument here in the room, however, we give them the opportunity to do it by Zoom, so they're not obligated to come to the room to make their point.
Right, but let's say somebody wouldn't get off and they keep on talking, they're off comments and they get aggressive or something. Whether they're on the Zoom or in the meeting room, it's the same thing. They would be shut down at a certain point.
I was just gonna say that the same rules would apply, code of public conduct like they would in here. If somebody stands up and says, I think you're blah, 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 they start that on there, we can shut them down, just like we can kick them right out of the meeting. I think the same rules would apply. The way I read that, I thought it was basically so that if we all had to go on to Zoom, let's say the CDC said no, we're shutting it, and we all had to go on to Zoom, then that's when that would be mostly effective, that's when that would come into play.
Right, who would make that decision on who gets kicked off though?
So it's the same thing, probably me. You know,
So the
whoever's
mayor would
sitting-
make the decision?
Whoever's sitting in this
Usually
chair
pretty
would
obvious.
be making the decision as to who has the
No,
floor
I
for the meeting.
agree. However,
And
sorry.
in the past instance, we had a resident who was on the Zoom, not in the council chambers. This was before you, I think it was earlier in the spring, maybe April. They were on the Zoom and they started their comments at the end of the meeting and it was relevant, and then they strayed way off base into lots of other things. They were asked to kind of pertain their comments to things that the council had some control over and pertained to the council, and they did not, and they continued for a lengthy amount of time, and then we disconnected the call. Just because what they were talking about did not have anything to do with anything that the council had any control over,
Right.
and it wasn't appropriate for the meeting setting that we're in.
I tend to prepare for the worst, hope for the best, so the scenarios I come up with may never ever happen. It has happened before. I just want to make sure that we're covered with that. because-
So this is a fail-safe in a couple ways, in that if a counselor is away and unable to physically be here, they can still participate. When we had empty seats, there were a couple meetings where we were close to not having quorum, being able to do business.
Right.
And if we had the ability to do this through that, then we would have been able to have quorum for that. And it also provides a secondary way for people to participate in the meetings. They can watch on the town hall streams, but that's kind of during and then after the fact.
Right.
But they don't have a way to participate in the meeting during that type of format. But this way, they do have a way to participate. Say you're traveling as a resident, you're traveling, but there's something the rec department's talking about that you want to be able to have input into. You can call in. You'd be asked to identify yourself, just like if you were sitting in the council chambers, and then you could make your comments, ask questions, and interact. So
Right.
it's another way to open up the meeting to people.
Right, so the impetus of this is the COVID pandemic, correct?
That's how it started. Yes.
Okay, so if there's when this ends, there will be no need to have that.
Well, it depends on whether we find value in it and being able to offer that to counselors. To be able
Right,
to
no,
utilize
I guess my
those
point is, the
benefits.
reason why it's coming into being is because of the pandemic. The pandemic, when it goes away, there's no need for it. I just find it very obtrusive and just impersonal, and I just see that thing go away.
Duly noted. Tim, did you have comments?
Yeah, I understand what Mike's saying, and I somewhat agree with it. However, listen, I'm not from the Zoom era, okay? But I do see the value as far as, we've got a lot of elderly people, and this has nothing to do with the pandemic, okay? But we have a lot of elderly people in town now that just physically can't get out, that couldn't participate, and now they can. So I would be for, if the pandemic leaves, I would still be for doing the Zoom and doing that. I know that's a different subject, but the bottom line is, there isn't a lot of elderly people that just are infirm enough, they just can't get out and do stairs and that sort of thing. Inclement weather might fall. And there's a lot of people that tune in on these Zoom meetings. I don't know why. I'd rather come in person, but that's just me. But I would like to see that continue, just based on it does help our elderly population have a voice that we don't, because they can't physically get in.
I understand and I agree.
I know. I hear you.
So this would be an ordinance that would be in effect until it was repealed. It does have some benefits. We've had several committees that have met because everybody was away, but they had something that needed to be done. They were able to meet by Zoom, so that worked out really well for them. Other committees want to meet in the room, so it gives another option so that we can conduct more business, basically.
Right, so are these recorded?
Yes, I just recorded.
How are they maintained?
They're maintained in the computer.
So they're maintained forever. Well, they're not going to go over a certain while and then disappear. Because what I'm thinking, and to your point, Tim, and I understand that completely. Because right now we have 2 participants. If we have this another year, 2 years from now, there's 1 or 2 participants, and you're one because you're in there, and the other one is the camera. So
I'm here because I can't see the TV.
no, I understand. But, no, I get it.
Yeah.
But if we go a year and a half and no one's using it,
Could always revisit it.
revisit it and yeah,
Are
revisit
you
it.
thinking the cost of maintaining the subscription for the service?
No,
or-
I just don't like that. I think it's obtrusive, and if we're gonna do it, we ought to do it a little better with the sound, I mean microphones, because it's tough to hear people on that sometimes.
It is.
And on the regular town meeting thing, it's almost useless, because you can rarely
So-
hear clear enough.
The audio to town hall streams is not the best because this room is not very acoustic. But if we can use the Zoom video and upload that to the town hall streams, that has perfectly clear video on, or perfectly clear audio on it. It's much higher quality. I do agree, and I have talked to Catherine about getting either like tap to talk microphones for each of the counselors so that it picks things up clearer, or we can do like a wireless mic that we get mic'd up, and then it will pick all of that up and put it into the audio so that there's no question about who's
Yeah.
speaking and what they're saying.
If this is gonna be a public record, I think we should consider that. They're really not that expensive.
No,
Because,
it's like
it,
$500
you know,
or less.
yeah. I mean, it's something we should consider. If this is going to be around for a while, maybe permanently,
We'll put that
we-
into the budgeting.
yeah, we need to consider it.
It's all on order.
Okay, good. Right.
It's on order, you said?
Yes,
So microphones have been ordered?
yes.
I'm gonna ask a silly question, because I'm
Yes.
not a computer geek. When all this stuff is archived, eventually these archives, it just gets archived and it goes, and we store it in the cloud in case we have to pull it down at some time, say 2 years from now, we want to have a meeting, or
I think it's
we
on-
have the ability to pull it down, I
I
guess is
think
what
it's
I'm
on the
asking.
server, right?
It's on the server because if it's on the cloud, we have to pay additional money.
Okay, so it stays right on the server?
Yes, and there's plenty of room in here. It's
Okay.
on this computer. Yeah.
Just for clarification purposes.
So as for backup, we have banker's boxes for hard copy files, and we keep those after so much time that we shred them, because it's not needed or just out of the room. Is it clarified as to how this is gonna be maintained? How is it gonna be secured? How is it gonna be backed up? How long is it gonna be maintained? Is it accessible to the public? How is it accessible to the public?
Well, if we make copies of the meetings, we have to keep it forever, which is what we're doing. We've kept all the tapes upstairs.
How are they being are they being backed up?
Well, if you've got the town hall streams and you've got the Zoom, so you've got two, you don't need to do any further backup.
The town hall streams is.
So are they being backed up?
The town hall streams is backed up on the town hall streams computer. So all of the towns that are part of the subscription have all of their records there.
Right, but is
and-
this?
And this is on here. So we've got two copies, it's the same.
Right,
thing.
it's on your laptop.
It's right here on this computer.
Right, so what if that computer gets damaged? This is why we need, it's electronic copy of public record. If we're gonna treat it like public record, we need to maintain it as a public record.
And we do have another public record, and we have the meeting minutes too. So we actually have 3 different versions here.
Right, but the whole idea of having a video, okay, never mind. I don't wanna beat a dead horse here, I just,
Yeah, we've got double copies.
there's just, when we start talking electronic anything, especially with public record or public meetings or, town business, it just puts a little bit more,
Legal twist?
yeah.
So let me
Thank
just
you.
clarify something. Catherine, it gets recorded on that computer, and then it gets uploaded and recorded.
So we have it on the server upstairs.
And we have a server.
And it's on the website, and it's at the town hall stream.
So this is on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, the town hall
Okay, so,
streams is-
just for clarification, I asked you where this went, you said in that laptop, but it doesn't stay in that laptop, it gets downloaded to the server.
All right, the town hall streams, which is separate from Zoom here. Zoom is here, so this is like a backup, an additional copy. There's 1 copy in here. So the town hall streams is stored at their office in the cloud. We have the option of storing it in the cloud, but that costs extra money. So we have it stored in the server upstairs, and we have it stored because it's on the website, and we have it stored on the website too, so people can access it. So there's 3 ways to get to the Town Hall Streams copy, and 1 way to get to the Zoom. So now we got 4 copies of the meeting, so we should be all
Yeah,
set.
no, I understand that, but in response to what Heather had asked, you're saying that gets loaded up to the server.
No, this one's right here. The Town Hall Streams, which is separate, has 3 ways to get to it.
Does the Zoom get uploaded to, it stays in our account in the cloud in Zoom to go back and look at later?
No, because you have to pay
It
extra
stays on that
money. We
computer?
just download it to the computer.
And do we upload it to our server as well?
No,
Or
because
we're
we
uploading
have
the Town Hall stream?
Town Hall Streams.
Okay.
Yeah. This is just like a backup,
Okay.
but there's 1 copy in here.
So the information's there and can be accessed multiple ways, so I don't
Yes, we have
So-
too many ways.
maintenance.
And I hate to be a pain in everyone's side here, but, so how would the public request a copy of this meeting on Zoom? That would have to go through you, because you have the laptop.
Well, they can go right on the Town Hall Streams website.
No,
and
I understand, I'm
click on
talking about this.
If they want to look at this one, we can make a copy from here for them.
Oh,
We've made
it's
copies of the
same thing.
videos before.
I just,
It's always gonna be the same thing.
right, I just wanna make
You know,
sure.
tomorrow when
I
I
just
wanna-
wanna make sure, because we
Right.
have hard copy, we have, town hall, we have this. They
Right.
all have to be handled the exact same way. But it just wasn't clarified, I mean, it's assumed
Yeah.
that we're gonna use this that way, but it's not written down, it's not noted that this is gonna be handled the same way. All we're talking about is that we can use this as a tool from now until, if it's ever revisited.
Right.
Are you all set?
I have, now let's move on quick. Wait, I have another question. No, thank you for your patience, sir, I appreciate it very much.
So, are there any other questions
I
about
have
the ordinance?
A simple question.
Yep.
Catherine, was that supposed to be in the paperwork to be signed? Because it's not in here.
All right, I found it wasn't in there, so I had run upstairs to make a copy, so you'll have it after the meeting.
Okay.
I just didn't want to disrupt things anymore. So yes, I did find it wasn't in there, that the staff had missed that, so I made a copy of it.
Okay.
Okay, so that'll be a separate thing to sign before everybody leaves.
Yeah, at the end of the meeting.
Okay, any other questions regarding, the public hearing item, ordinance 21-05? Okay, let's go ahead and vote on 2105 as presented. All those in favor of enacting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that will pass. And please remember to sign that, before leaving.
So we're gonna do reports now?
Yes, reports, council committees, finance committee, Amanda is not here. I know our next meeting is 8/24, after ordinance committee. I don't think we've had a meeting since the last.
No, we had the workshop.
Yeah, we had the budget workshop, so that's that. Okay. And then ordinance committee, we have not had a meeting since our last council meeting. Our next meeting is next week as well at 5:30. Jason drafted some information. I haven't had a chance to open that email yet, but we'll be dealing with the fireworks ordinance. Is there anything else on our agenda, Catherine? Is that pretty much the main?
That would be the main item, yeah.
Okay, and then recycling, Tim, do you guys have a meeting?
We have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow night, I believe it is, at 5:30. Is it 5:30, Catherine?
Yes.
Yeah, I did want to let you know, Catherine, I will be at that meeting, however, I have a work-related meeting from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. around in the Waterville, Winslow area. I'm gonna come from there right directly to the recycling community, so if it winds up being 5:33 or 5:34, I will be here.
That is fine, thank you.
Okay, and we had discussed a number of issues ongoing, as well as the reuse center. We do have an interested party in that. We probably will be doing some follow-up on that as well.
That's great.
Thank you.
Good to hear. Okay, board and committee updates by town councilors and manager. Catherine, do you have anything under that item?
No, we've been very quiet. We've had, several committees have had meetings, but not since the last council meeting.
And still no interest in the Pittsfield community celebration?
That would be correct at this time. There were 3 people that did inquire.
Okay. Town manager's report.
All right, very good. Town manager's report. I'll be brief. I have a number of items. I'll mainly focus on the new items, and you have a copy of the report in front of you. Number one, nomination papers. We have candidates needed for the following elected offices of the town: District 1 Councilor, District 4 Councilor, at-large Councilor, and 2 SAD 53 board members, all are 3-year terms. Nomination papers are now available and need to be turned back to the town clerk by 5:00 p.m. on Friday, September 17th, so plenty of time to get the signatures. You only need 25 signatures, but it's always good to get 35 just in case. Number 2, MSAD 53 budget assessment. When notified that the governor's bill to fund education at 55% had passed, this had been a law in effect for many years, but not properly funded, because people had indicated there wasn't enough money, but all of a sudden we did seem to have the funding for that. The school scheduled a session to address this. The school directors were to meet on August 9th to make a decision, and they had several options to look at, and they decided to refund the additional funds to the town, to all the towns in their SAD 53 assessments for 2021-2022. So that means the assessment will be reduced. We have not yet received the new assessment, but I understand it's a very nice reduction that will be very helpful to the town. Number 3, comprehensive plan review. The town council's detailed review of the implementation strategies of the comprehensive plan is an item that's required by the plan for the community. And so that showed that the vast majority of the recommended strategies were completed or underway. We found several strategies that were no longer relevant, or the laws had changed, so those strategies are no longer required or need to be performed. While we cannot change the plan, a document will be created to note the progress of the town with all of these enhancements. Number 4, unfortunately on the radar speed feedback sign that we could use, the town was notified by the Maine DOT it's likely that due to material shortages, that the manufacturer will continue to have a difficult time fulfilling the order in their contract for the radar speed feedback signs, so that delivery of these units will likely be in spring 2022. Number 5, horse-drawn wagons and Maine DOT literature. When an employee of the Maine Local Road Center was in town recently, she saw all the horse-drawn wagons. Terry Castengry sent a package of the Maine DOT's new handout about sharing the road with horse-drawn buggies. These handy pamphlets are now available at the town office on the counter, and we will make a copy and put it on the website, better than the information that we have now. MDOT just revitalized those. Number 6, permits issued for events. The town council wanted to be notified the next meeting after the town clerk issued permits that the council used to issue. We had transferred a number of permit responsibilities to the staff that seemed more relevant for the town office than the town council. The town clerk was out, so as deputy clerk I issued the catered function by qualified catering organization to Jeff's Catering and Banquet Center for the Maine Central Institute events for their alumni events. All was in order and went well. Number 7, codes enforcement work. After our new code enforcement officer, Robert Kagan, had his operation for his accident with his finger, got that fixed and recuperated, he came back to work and started to get caught up. He and Al Tempester, who's our alternate CEO, had planned to work on some of the old code enforcement issues that had been referred to the code office over a long time. Before this could take place, Al Tempester broke his wrist and or his arm in more than one location here. Had to have an operation. So hopefully there's 2 very nice gentlemen who work on their homes, who are building and code enforcement officers, will feel much better soon. In the meantime, Bob is back at work, and we've asked him to collect all the information up from the files, organize it. There are 10 code violation derelict building projects, as well as the Somerset Avenue derelict building project that is the one that is scheduled to go to court, and can go to court now when Al is able to come back to work. So we'll send them out to the sites. They know they need to do that, and start code enforcement by talking to the owners, tenants, and then issuing letters with due dates that will be followed, and either for completion of necessary work, or 2 of those buildings need demo. Number 8, Manson Park Tennis Courts 2021 Hitting Backboard Campaign. Attached to the back of your town manager's report is a very nifty project that is for a hitting backboard, which would be great for the youth to learn and practice on, as well as new players. Tennis is making a big comeback in Pittsfield, and we've heard that from a number of people, and the campaign shows that. This information will be provided to the Recreation Committee for their consideration. Number 9 is Maine Recycles Week. I've been told that this will be officially held for the first time since 2010, although the town of Pittsfield has been holding it every year, as much as we can. Last year was difficult because of COVID. Some other communities also are holding it. So we found out that officially Maine Recycles Week will be held with a nonprofit setup that will be organized with a fiscal agent as the Kennebec Valley Council of Government. So that'll be interesting, and we'll see some activities going on here. Number 10 is the Summer Concert Series Thursday night. That will be on August 19th and features Scott Cole. And we do have the Maine Cheese Festival coming up on September 12th, and that is coming right up here. Number 12, the final version of the Welcome to Pittsfield video is in many places here. We now have, as of last count, over 19,000 contacts on the video, over 5,000 engagements, so that's very good. All wonderful comments. One person made a negative comment about something else that got stuck on there. You know how that is with Facebook. Number 13, water hydrant installation. The water hydrant on Morrill Street that got hit by accident by a contractor who backed over it was to be replaced on August 5th, but there was a torrential rain that day, so it got rescheduled before the rain started. The department then went out last week and tried to turn off the water in that location and close by, and were unable to get that to work. So now they've been studying the plans and think they found a way to do that without shutting off a major part of the community. The valves are just very difficult. They have not been exercised much, and frankly, the staff at times didn't want to exercise the valves because of their condition. We did apply for a major project from the drinking water program for all the valves in the town to be replaced, but we were told that that was not a project that would be approved at the 1% or 0% funding. You could only get your valves replaced if you had the actual water line replaced, and then you could replace your valves that went along with it. You just couldn't replace all your valves through town, even though that would have been good. We tried a water hydrant project too, in which all the water hydrants would be replaced, but that was a no-go too, because when you have your low interest loan or no interest loan, it's only for the water main and whatever components go with it. It's not for all the components everywhere, although we did try. Number 14 is the Airport Capital Improvement Plan. Caleb Curtis and I met with the federal government and Maine DOT, and that was quite interesting. Our 6-bay nested T hangar is all set to go, along with the taxiway. We've been told when we'll be paying back Rangeley if all goes well, because we need to make sure that they can have their projects once they're organized with their new airport master plan and everything. And then MDOT at one point thought it would be good for us to have a big grubbing and grading project to straighten out the wetlands area that's down off the runway that we have such trouble cutting. However, we all agreed that that type of grubbing in the wetland would likely be a no-no, and we would not be able to do it. The environmental permits would cost so much it would be ridiculous. So what we have to do is make sure that we cut as much as possible each year, and we did make great headway last year on that. We'll be working on the crack ceiling, which is not the big MDOT crack ceiling in which everything has lists and lists of requirements. We'll have a regular crack ceiling at the airport somehow before winter, before it gets cold. We do have American Rescue Plan funding. We do have more COVID funding. So we're still working on figuring out which one will be approved by the state of Maine and the federal government so we can use it for the crack ceiling. Number 15, I'll be working on a number of counselor projects now that I've gotten multiple major projects done. All of the information needed for the lawsuit on the Taylor Road, and multiple Freedom of Information Act requests, but then more Freedom of Information Act requests came in. I gotta say, I was fortunate, I never should have said in that last training that I never had any of these, only had one, because now I have all kinds of them. People have asked for a lot of information on the roads, sewer and water system from the council's meetings, so this is taking a while, as well as financial information, which we get from companies out of the state of Maine, like in Florida or California, ask for a lot of information. So we have figured out a way to process that without getting into copying and everything, although it did take a while to figure out. So I will do the council projects on items that everybody wanted. I will then go to the freedom of access requests. I've got to just settle down and work on those and not work on regular work and just get those all done because I got the ones done that had the legal requirements, but we do have others and they do need to be completed here. 16, good news on the municipal building entrance beautification project. We did the certificate, which was great for the garden club, which does a wonderful job, but we also got on the front entrance. We're now on the schedule for Knowles Industrial Service. Everything has been ordered. There is a lengthy delay to get the glass to replace the front area. So they'll be doing a lot of work. In the meantime, they're going to give us advice on the different types of paints and everything that we can purchase, and then the town public works crew can do the work that they can do, and then Knowles will come in and do the other work, and that will be good work to be done, one, structurally, and two, just for aesthetics. And then I think everything else just is continuing along here. We'll be having a big highway meeting shortly because we've done a lot of the ditching and culverts. We need to regroup on where we're going to go next with that. I also included at the end of the report a very nice report beyond the Manson Park tennis court hitting backboard campaign that looks really good. We had a nice report from all of our associates on their monthly operations report, in which they went through everything that explains out where all the chemicals and the flows are and everything for the water system, and then mentions items on the sewer system. So you might find that very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. The next up is new business, and we have resolution 21-84.
Resolution 21-84. Resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to execute the sidebar agreement to the police collective bargaining agreement expiring December 31st, 2022 for 1. Appendix A for wages, 2. Article 34 lateral pay steps, and 3. Article 33 vacations.
Move your
So
document.
before we actually go too far with this, we actually have not heard back from the union, so we don't have an agreement to discuss this evening. The information in your packet is the proposal to the union, but we haven't heard back from them yet to actually have an agreement to approve or not.
And I did double check this afternoon. I will give a time frame though, I've been told.
Okay, so at this point, because we don't have an agreement to talk about, we should table this item either till the next council meeting, or if we hear back from the union, then Catherine will do a poll of the counselors, and we would do a special meeting to then address it.
Well, I have a question on the
Yep.
information presented here. How should we pursue that?
Well, we shouldn't be discussing any of the information presented, because that
It's
information...
on the public record.
Okay, as far as the background part?
Well, I want to make sure we do this proper. I mean, we haven't made a motion, so are we in discussion on resolution 21-84? Or? Let me put it this way. I have a point of clarification before we move
Let's
to the
do
side.
a point of clarification before we discuss the resolution.
Okay. So there's one statement in here on the second sheet says the union was contacted and negotiations began. So when was the union contacted and how were they contacted?
All right, that's history on the sidebar issues that was on the first set of sidebars, I just continued on so you'd have all the history from the first write-up.
Right, I understand that, but when were they contacted and how were they contacted?
Are you asking about the last item that we're working on? Because this particular paragraph is the first item that we worked on back in the spring.
It's on the sidebars already done. I just continued on, so I put all the history on the subject and leave it down below so everybody has it.
Okay, so if I could have that question answered, then a follow-up based on the fact that you just stated that it's not the current, it's the previous.
So you wanna know when the union was
I would
contacted
like to know,
about
the
current
stated the
item.
union was contacted, negotiations began. When was the union contacted and how were they contacted? Was
So
it verbal, was it email, was it a letter?
No, it would be in writing, and then it would be the day after we had the Police Labor Negotiations Committee meeting. However, I did call the town attorney to tell them that we had this whole issue going on.
Okay, so the union was contacted directly from the town by letter. That's what you just said.
I'd have to go back on what day this all happened. It was in writing.
I'm not asking when, I'm asking, so if they did get a letter from the town,
Yes.
so,
Either by email or by
So-
letter, yeah.
so we don't know how they were contacted.
They were contacted in writing.
Well, you said either by email or letter, I mean,
Well, email or letter is in writing. I stated in writing.
okay, well, could I get a copy of that?
Mhm.
When could I get a copy?
I'll have to look in the computer and then I can get the copy to you.
Okay, so the history on here is for the initial discussion, which was, when was that?
Well, this all started in April, as I wrote.
Did it?
At that finance committee meeting, only one item was to go to the union. Then I think I contacted them like right off.
Are
Okay.
you looking for a timeline, Mike?
I'm looking for a timeline. Yeah, I'm looking for actions that have been taken since April, because here we are halfway through August, and we're borderline a civil emergency, because we are not providing security to the people of this town.
So these are not all the same actions. The stuff that we started on back in April has already come back to the council, been approved, and then new items were brought. So it's not like we're carrying over items from April. As new items have come in, we've gone through the process each time. So this last time, I think it says here, our last meeting was August 5th. And after that, the committee made a proposal. Catherine carried that proposal to the town attorney as well as the union. And now we're waiting for the union to respond to that. So that's the process that we've gone through each time there's been an item. And we're waiting right now for the union to take action, either to say, yes, we agree with this, or no, we want to make changes to it. And if that's the case, then the committee would then meet again and review the changes that they would want as part of the negotiations process. And then this item would come back to the council.
No, I understand that. I guess I asked very specific questions. I just wanted to know what the timeline was, because I'll reiterate again that we have two officers that are doing patrol to cover this entire town, 24/7.
Correct.
So what? And the thing is, and I heard the smart comment a couple meetings ago that, well, what if we need assistance? Well, just call the sheriff's department. You don't think the sheriff's department has other things to do? We're a very high potential of having a serious problem if there is anything going on. This one gentleman here, Chief,
So-
and is up. Please let me finish. Chief sitting here and his other officer, I don't know how many miles they patrol, how much time, or how many hours they have. They cannot be getting their sleep. They cannot be getting the rest and break that they need, that everyone deserves. You're probably putting in ungodly hours. And if anything should happen, God forbid, if anything happened to Chief or his other officer, we're down to one officer 24/7 for this entire town. And it's been since April. We tend to have more luck getting a tree grant a lot quicker than getting officers in this town to take care of the public, to take care of our security, to control the crime, and handle any potential emergencies. I think for us sitting down and sitting around waiting for the attorney, waiting for the union, why aren't we more proactive? Why aren't we more aggressive getting this done? I think we're not doing this town service at all. We're not doing the taxpayers a service at all, and we're not doing our job.
So
Bottom
at
line,
this
we are
point,
not doing our
I think we've
job.
strayed away from clarification on this, and then if you would like to continue pontificating
Well,
about the
you
situation,
questioned my reason
then
why
I'm
I
gonna
was
ask
asking this
you-
question. That's why I was asking this
I'm
question.
gonna ask you to continue your comments at the end of the meeting during the report section, because I don't feel like that is actually addressing the item that we have before us right now. Right now, we have an item that we either need to address by tabling it, because we don't have an actual agreement to look at, or we need to pass it over and not deal with it at all. My preference would be to table it, so that we have it on the
Okay,
schedule.
I
for
will
another
continue at the
meeting.
end of the meeting then.
That would be the most
So
appropriate way
I
to
move
do
we
it.
table resolution 21-84.
Second. Table it until next meeting, or table it until we have an agreement?
Until we're ready to take action on it.
Until we hear from the
have it
union, all
ready
right.
to go.
All right. Just
So
wanted to
the
make it
next
clear.
action could be at a special meeting, if something comes back from the union before our next regular council meeting, then we would address it as soon as possible. Catherine will do a poll to make sure that everyone would be available for that meeting, because this is an important thing that we should all be available for. So that would be the process that we would do, but at this point, we're kind of in a holding pattern, waiting for the union to take action.
So could I note that the information that's on page 2 was resolved in July and we voted on those items. So now we're on page 1.
What are you talking about? What, page 2, page 1 of
Yeah,
what?
on the agenda item, you
Yeah.
mentioned this has been going on since April. The information that is here that mentions April was the first sidebar agreements, which were resolved in July. And so that was history that I just left on the agenda sheet, because I like to give the council the whole history of what's going on. So now we're back for sidebars number 2, which is the first page. So everything got resolved in July, and then it started up again, which is what we're working on now.
Do we have a motion on the table, on the table to table this item until we have an action item to work on?
I mean, the only other thing you could do is you could say, yes, we agree with this approach, and we want to just approve this as long as it's in the theory of what you have here, and state that you would allow the town manager to execute these and then ratify them and be done with it. I mean, you wouldn't have all the information, but that would speed things along. I'm not promoting this, but that is the idea.
Jason, did you have a question?
No.
No. Tim?
I think we should table it until we hear from the union. There's nothing else we can do at this point. What else can we do? I mean, we have nothing to work, you don't know if they're gonna agree to it or not agree to it, or there you are. You're kinda like in limbo.
Pete?
Well,
Do you have any questions before we vote?
No.
Brett?
Table and move on.
I'd be full table.
I will say we should be contacting the union every day and putting pressure on them. I mean, it's been 12 days now
thank you.
since you guys sent something and we haven't heard back. We all know how government type entities can be slow, so we should maybe give them a call.
I did contact the union today.
Okay, yep, good, great.
Pete?
I'd like to know who you're talking about when you talk about the union.
The proper union representative, which is the MAP agency.
Because my officers haven't been contacted as of
But they're
tonight.
not the union
Right.
representation.
And I came to all of you back over a month ago now, telling you I had 2 qualified, certified officers. And I don't know if they're gonna be available now, because one of them contacted me last night, because this has dragged out for so long. And I think it's terrible.
It is terrible, but this is the process that we have to go to. If we were to take action on this
Yeah.
without an agreement with the union, we would be in violation of our labor agreement with the union, and we would be sued for
And with
it.
all due respect, if this was really at the front of the burner, we could do this in a week or less.
We could, but it takes two partners to be able to do with it, and right now, our partner in negotiations
I
has not
offered to help
responded to
out.
us. So
It's
that is where it is. It's not, the ball is not in our court.
It's an
at this moment.
emergency situation. We're working with 2 officers.
We understand that, Pete.
I don't think any of you do.
No,
We do.
No, you don't.
we can't as a council, as much as it sucks, we can't as a council override the union without risking being in a lawsuit by the town of Pittsfield. Now, this is all part of the ebb and flow of being in a union. Like I said before, if they're not happy, and I wouldn't be happy with it, the officers can look, when that contract is up to change unions, they could look to decertify that union if they want. But I wouldn't want to be there, I wouldn't want to be out there working with the public without a union representation.
They haven't even been contacted.
Who hasn't been contacted?
My officers.
That is.
That's not,
That's not the
that's nothing we can do about it. That's the union, the ball's in their court. As soon as we hear
Right,
from
but
them, we
if-
can proceed.
But if it was being handled the right way, the union attorneys could have been approached, and they could have been told about this weeks ago, and said that we have an emergency
The union
situation.
attorneys were
They
informed
do know
once
about
the
that.
labor negotiation committee put forth an agreement proposal that you helped us work on. They were informed. They have been informed, they have been checked with. Catherine checked with them today. We cannot make them give us an answer that we want.
So what
They're
was,
they're their own entity.
Did they have a time frame that they are required to get back to the town, and if they don't, then they're in violation of their own?
No, but I did
Contract.
ask them for a time frame today.
so what did they say?
I don't have, they said they would get back to me.
So this is the situation that we're in. Arguing about it tonight is not going to improve the situation, but we can make it so that we can act on it as soon as we do have more information from the union. By putting this on the table, we'll bring it off the table as soon as we have more information to go on.
So when was the union contacted us last time?
All right, today I contacted the union.
No. When were they notified initially? Here's
August
what we'd
5th.
like you to agree upon. And
August
you
5th.
made a follow-up call, which they didn't respond to. So we've got almost a week and a half of absolutely nothing happening. We don't even know if they received that communication.
Well, I sent the information to the town attorney, and I know the town attorney had it, because they questioned what we wrote down.
So when did the town? So the union didn't get contacted by us directly. They got contacted by the town's attorney.
That's the way it's supposed to work, but I did cut through that and contacted
So
them
when
directly.
did they get notification? Did they get a letter?
All right, in writing by email.
Okay, so do we know that they received it? Because here's my point, and like I say, I prepare for the worst. It's an odd situation, but it's happened. I've had it happen to me directly and indirectly before. You send out an email, the person who responds to that email is on vacation, like our town attorney is on vacation. So for a week, we can get nothing done because that specific person is on vacation. So how do we know that that email was sent and it was read to the proper person? Did they acknowledge that they received it, and did they even give a time when they were going to read it? I mean, this is all open-ended, and we're in a serious situation here. This is why I'm bringing this up. This is my discussion here, because we can make this quicker without going against any laws, without breaking any contracts. We have to be a lot more proactive. We just can't sit it out and sit and wait.
So when I contacted the town attorney contacted me back, so I know that they have the information.
So the town attorney said they have it.
They did, because they answered some questions and asked me some questions about it.
The town attorney or the union?
The town attorney.
So
They sent it on to the union.
we know for a fact that the union has it.
I know they have it, yeah.
We know for a fact, and you can show documentation that has been done that way.
They said they had it.
We
the question is-
contacted them
When
today.
I contacted them today.
They
Well,
were-
that was a follow-up, and they gave you no response. That was a worthless quarter you spent. We need to set time, get back to you, get back to me by the end of the day. We need to be proactive, we need to push them in the corner, because as Jason mentioned, they're not obliged to do anything, apparently. But I don't know why they would want to do that, but that aside, so now we're at the beck and call of the union whenever they feel like getting to it. They don't understand our importance. We're
Oh, I
in a
think-
very serious situation
I
here.
think
We have been since April.
I think they do understand the importance.
Well, you think so. Let's put that on documentation, Catherine. That doesn't mean anything to anybody. It doesn't mean anything to the union. It doesn't mean anything to the taxpayers. I'm sounding like a big a-hole here, and my apologies, but we have to be proactive with this. If it was getting a fire engine puffer, not a big deal. We can get service from elsewhere. We're talking about the police force. Two men putting in ungodly hours, and they're like I say, God forbid anything happens, because they're just absolutely drawn out, tired, probably borderline depression, dealing with all this stuff that they'll deal with. Luckily, there isn't a serious situation going on that we know of.
Tim, you have a question?
The thing of it is, I mean, Catherine, she could call them every day. I mean, and they're gonna respond. I mean, we could tell them we're in an emergency situation, we need a response ASAP. You can't guarantee that they're gonna be ASAP. You can try.
Right, but we haven't done that, Tim.
They
She
are
talked
aware
to
of the
them today.
situation.
Jason, question, comment?
Just right quick, I mean, the two officers that are represented by the union, they can contact the union and say, hey, we know that the people the town has given you a new option, you guys aren't addressing it, you're not representing us, you need to represent us. I mean, they themselves can force the union hand and say, hey, you're not representing us, you're supposed to represent us, do
They're the
your
dudes
job.
paying that.
So maybe that's an option that,
It's their money. They can absolutely do that.
right, so the guys,
Could
so
you-
your officers, chief, could
It
maybe.
is not a.
I offered,
No, I'm not saying you.
No, let's not get into this, we need to
I
get this
offered
under
to-
control here.
No,
Let's
we
get
are
this
gonna
under
move the
control.
vote. We are not gonna continue
This
discuss.
is an
We are-
emergency
We are
situation.
This is-
straying into things we should not be straying in.
My
We are not gonna
officers-
encourage the police chief to talk to his officers about this. They have legal representation through their union officer, and that is who the town needs to talk with. If the officers wanna talk to their union steward and talk to their union representation, that is up to them to do. We are not gonna be instructing anybody to be doing that, because that is not our place.
I wasn't instructing anybody.
Okay.
I was making the comment
We are
that
not,
they
right,
could.
they could, that's up to them as union members to conduct their business as a union in their own organization. That's up to them to decide how to do that. But we are not gonna be instructing anybody to go talk to the officers about this, about a union matter, or going directly to the union, because that is not appropriate. It needs to come directly from the Labor Negotiations Committee through our town attorney to their attorney.
So,
I'd like to move the vote, please.
well, no, there's still discussion to be had. So you're saying that, is
I'm not sure that our
it,
discussion's getting us any closer to actually voting on this
So-
item that we do not actually have anything to vote on. We don't have an agreement to vote.
so when you
on.
decide
We can't
discussion's over, there's valid points to be made here, and this is a very important topic, and you want to shut it down?
I do, because we don't have an agreement to vote on, and that is what our motion is for. Authorizing the town manager to execute a
We
sidebar
have
agreement.
discussion
We do not
that's now a
have-
matter of record.
We do not have a sidebar agreement to vote on this evening. Our options are to table this item or vote it down completely
That's
and
correct.
not address it.
Every
So
motion,
here's
every
what-
motion has discussion.
We have a motion on the table.
What?
That you
Finish.
have made
Let it
and
finish.
has been seconded to table this item. Our conversation over the last few minutes has not moved the conversation forward on this. We're going over and over the same items, and we still have a full agenda. I would like to move the option on this to vote. Resolution 21-84. The motion is to table. It has been seconded. All counselors in favor of tabling this item, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those that say nay, please say nay.
Nay.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Jason, Tim,
Aye.
Pete,
Aye.
Brent,
Aye.
and all aye as well. Mike,
Nay.
thank you. The motion will carry to table this item to such a time that we have an agreement to discuss. Resolution 2185, please, Catherine.
Resolution 21-85, resolved that the town council approve an amendment to the school resource officer and memorandum of understanding between the town of Pittsfield and MSAB number 53 to address staffing and authorize the town manager to execute the amendment.
Then move we adopt resolution 21-85.
Thank you. Looking for a second, Counselor?
Second.
Thank you, Tim.
So you saw the detail that this would be a very short amendment that would be added into the memorandum of understanding. Meeting took place with the school, in which the school was more than flexible in having the staffing split with the town on the scheduling of the school resource officer. Mike Gray was appointed as the school resource officer and was more than willing to split his time between the school and the town. So there would be a short amendment that would be made. And obviously the school understood that if we ran into issues, we may have to use more of that time, but eventually they would have a full-time officer.
Questions, counselors? Discussion?
I'd like to ask Chief's input on this.
Steve?
Any feedback on that?
I haven't talked to the town manager about it, so if she wants to sit down and talk to me, it'd be nice to talk about it in advance.
Well, we've discussed this at meetings before.
Yeah, we went back and forth in 4 or 5 meetings about a lot of stuff, but what you're talking about now, I'm not really positive, what you're talking about.
All right, so this is the item in which we discussed how the school resource officer could not be in the school for 40 hours a week, as you have recommended, that the school resource officer would have to be in the school for perhaps half the time. And so the school had contacted me directly after talking with you and Michael about this and wanted to split the time with the town, which I thought was a good idea, to try to get by and help the town.
Right, and what I'm saying is, if we could have talked before the meeting and had open communication,
We already
then
talked about it.
I would have known what you're talking about.
Well, we already talked about
Pete,
it.
are you really saying that you don't have any idea what this item
I
is
do
about?
now, she just talked about it.
We already discussed this.
I find that comment very disingenuous.
No, well, I think
You
his
didn't
point
know
is
what it was about, Heather. I don't have any of the minutes like you do. All I have is an agenda here. That's all I've got.
So what you're saying, you didn't have a direct meeting with the town manager to discuss something that affected your department?
We had an indirect
No, we
meeting.
talked about this during one of those meetings that we had with the labor negotiation meeting.
So Pete, at this point,
Good.
do you have concerns about having a part-time patrol officer help fill
No, I don't.
some of the patrols,
No, I
as well
don't.
as having part-time
I
officer in the schools?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
So this is the same subject that was discussed.
No, I didn't know what it was about, what you were talking about.
All right, it's the same subject
Okay.
that was discussed previously.
So Chief doesn't have any concerns about splitting time. Does any counselors have any concerns about having the time split in order to help cover some of the patrol shifts as well as service MSAD services in the school as the SRO until we have more staff available? And then more of the hours would shift over to the school resource officer position.
I just had one question.
Jason, yeah.
What about in a COVID situation where the school happens to shut down for 2 weeks, or they go completely remote? What does the SRO do in that situation?
The SRO would work for the town.
100%, 40-hour week.
which I'm sure we could use the.
Right,
for.
obviously,
We haven't talked
didn't-
about that.
It didn't mention
Well, as
it.
a full-time patrol officer,
He would just go back to
He is a
full-time.
full-time
the
patrol.
patrol
assumption would be that
officer.
he would be full-time
Yeah.
patrol.
He's
full
back
time.
up.
It didn't really.
When school's not in session
I just
in
wanted
the
to clear-
summer
right.
and during vacations, that's the situation, right? He would work
Well,
full-time,
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm good, that's it.
similar.
Thanks.
Or be on vacation or whatever.
Right,
Right,
but I
yeah.
would guess if the school had issues during a remote session or something like that, that they needed him to follow up on, that he would be called upon to do that as part
Okay.
of his duties too.
Yeah, it's a full-time patrol officer assigned to the school, so if he's not in the school, then
Right,
we have plenty of work for
he
him.
defaults to,
Yeah.
yep,
It's a good question.
thanks.
Any other questions about the agreement there with the school? Okay. All those in favor of resolution 21-85, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that will pass. Resolution 2186.
Resolution 21-86, resolved that the town council authorize a master customer agreement for WatchGuard for the police department for the body camera video system be executed as long as the authorized user sign off on the agreement requirements.
I move we adopt resolution 21-86. I'll second it.
Thank you, Brent. Any discussion? We have some background
You have a lot of
provided,
background.
well, background provided. Basically, this is a user agreement.
Several questions here, and
Okay, get us started.
I shall, thank you. I have yet to read through all this in finite detail. However, several questions I would look for is, so these cameras are upgraded by them? I mean, is this a long-term contract where they're responsible for the cameras also? Or do we buy those and just use them ourselves? Because I'm concerned about replacement costs if one gets damaged. I'm concerned about any upgrades that happen in their system. And the next one would be, if they don't provide us a service, is there a termination clause in there where we can back out based on their lack of service or lack of contractual obligations?
All right, very good. So the police chief is here this evening and can talk about the program.
Well, it's video cameras in the cruisers, and it's body cameras for the officers. And respectfully, like the other subject, we haven't discussed this. Town manager and I have not sat down and discussed this.
And we
This
wouldn't
was
sit down.
What's that?
We wouldn't sit down. This was given to me by your assistant to take
Correct.
care of it.
That's
So I
correct.
did.
So all I'm saying is, we haven't discussed this, like the other matter that you asked me about originally, the first item. But the cameras in the cruisers, and then the officers would sign an agreement that that the information belongs to the town, like a waiver. And as far as how long the agreement is for, I'm not really sure. I don't have it in front of me.
They're usually good for a year,
I think it was longer than that.
is it longer than that?
I think it was 2 or 3 years. I can't
It was
remember.
longer than a year. This was the agreement I got from the administrative assistant in the police office who instructed me to have it taken care of.
It's pretty
So I put
standard.
it on the agenda. It is a standard agreement. The company is not going to change the language in it, but there are software upgrades. They have a really nice website where you download the information. In terms of termination, I think any type of agreement, this is like a 301 financial software, it's hard to get out of them.
So are these replacing the ones that they have now?
No, we don't have them.
Okay, follow up to you, Catherine.
Well, let me clarify that.
You do have.
They had some when I first came here, but they never had them in the cruisers since I've been here. A couple of the officers had body cameras, but I don't know what happened to them, but the answer is basically no.
They did have body cameras, most of the officers, the full-time ones had those. But this is a whole system that will hook into the vehicles, and then you can use it on the computer system and look up information and keep the information so that you can use it for cases.
So the issue that you and I, Steve Emery, and my late wife talked about 5, 6 years ago, was the fact that if this is going to be used as essentially public record, will this be backed up and controlled and used by the police department only?
All right, so that's where the
Yes.
police department has authorized users. So the question that I wasn't sure of was whether the district attorney has the ability to use the information.
Right, anyone
I would think they would.
that's understood, law enforcement only. I mean, the town manager, the town personnel, people in the public, they will not
No.
have access to it. It's under your control, correct?
Pete?
We just bought a server that will go along with this.
Perfect.
So all the information that's downloaded from the body cameras that the officer wears on his chest, or the camera that's in the cruiser. I'm told they used to have one in the cruiser, but since I've been here, they've never had one in the cruiser. And I think there's been 2 or 3 officers who were wearing them on their, on their person, since I've been here. But all that information would download into the cruiser, and then we're going to get a Wi-Fi that will enable it. When the cruiser pulls up to the station house, it'll automatically download from the cruiser and through the Wi-Fi into the
Onto the
server, the new server. It'll be stored there, and then as it's requested by the DA or whoever, then it would be taken off, and it can't be manipulated by the officers, or
Good.
it's not supposed to.
So once it gets in Wi-Fi range, it'll automatically download. There's no interface, or you don't have to stop and think, oh, I got to download this.
That's how it used to work, and that's how some departments still do it. But with Wi-Fi, you don't have to do that now, and it's pretty inexpensive, I guess, to do it. Mike's been working on this, and but we've already got the server, and we bought the WatchGuard system. We've got this 100% paid by a grant for 2 systems. We're getting this for 2 systems,
So
for 2 cruisers.
2 cruisers.
2 cruisers. The first grant has 8 body cameras, and the second grant I got 4 body cameras. So we'll get a total of 12 body cameras and 2 cruiser systems. And then we bought, I believe, we bought the server out of our capital budget, out of that money that was originally set aside to buy this whole system. And I can't remember how much that was. It was $3 or $4 grand, but each one of these systems were like 12 grand. A lot of money.
So it was all by grant.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well done.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Chief.
questions regarding the system?
So the body camera video system, because of the expense of it, is a 5-year contract.
It's fine.
And most of the items for the police department are 5 years.
Thank you for looking that up.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm very glad to hear that those body cameras are coming, because I gotta tell you, in this day and age, a police officer shouldn't be out there without one, period. End of story. That can save your bacon more times than you can even imagine, because of all kinds of,
Protection.
yeah, right. Let's leave it that way.
I flipped my.
Big
Alright,
safety
so,
thing, too.
let's vote on this, resolution 21-86 regarding the customer agreement for the WatchGuard and body cam system for the cruisers. All those in favor of 2186, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. Resolution 2187,
Resolution 21-87, resolved that the town council waive the regulation of bids and contracts, section 106 of the administrative code, and authorize the town manager to execute a 1-year contract for snow plowing with S&G Construction at a rate of $2,719.50 per mile for a total of $104,775 for 38.5 miles for 2021-2022, with such mileage to be adjusted if the town adds road mileage during the term of contract or deletes routes during the term of the contract.
Move we adopt resolution 21-87.
I'll second.
Pete?
Yep.
Thank you. Any discussion, counselors?
We are very, very fortunate that Stanley of S&G will continue the contracts and for a reasonable amount of money, being a 5% increase. He would like the town to take over another contract. I did explain to him the labor shortage that we had, because we did get the resignation of David Connors, who had been with the town for 43 years. He just simply can't come back because of medical issues. So we do have 2 positions that are available. So Stanley was very understanding and said that he will plow as long as he can keep his 2 really good employees that he has so that he can take care of the routes. So we're very fortunate.
Are we already starting to advertise for those open positions?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And is that just a plowing position, or is that a full-time position in the?
They're full-time
Department.
equipment operator, laborers, everything
Okay.
positions.
So do we have no other contract we vote to bid for?
Going out to bid on something like this, in which we did not have bidders the other times that we went out, would not be a good thing. This was an arrangement that was made by Steve Vance, that we would start taking over the routes, and the town council was well aware of it through the budget meetings and the finance committee meetings, that this was the plan. And so this is another year of the plan.
Okay, so
So if we bid this out, nobody bids on it.
that was my
Basically,
question.
There's no contractors.
So do we,
This is a tough field for contractors.
Labor shortages.
yeah.
Have a question.
Brent?
On the contract itself, if you go down and there was a snow removal, I'm a little confused there. It says, you notice it says they'll start when the snow falls to a depth of 1 inch. When dry powder snow is accumulated on any portion of the road, either by actual snowfall or wind depth up to 2 inches, or when the town manager summons. So when we get 1 inch of snow, they can start plowing.
Yep.
Why would we, because typically, sometimes you see them in the wintertime, here it is, you get 1 inch of snow that's falling in the night, and the weatherman says it's gonna warm up to like 40, and the slush is gonna melt off anyways, and yet they go around plowing, scraping the roads and nothing.
So frankly, if Stanley knows that's gonna happen, he won't go out. I've seen storms in which he has not gone out. If it's just 1 little inch, they don't go out.
Right. Well,
Or less than that.
you, lots of times you do see them out there.
I think what you might have seen is the town crew goes out.
Well, either case.
Yeah.
Well, I talked to Steve about this, and he was very adamant that you have to start getting it off the road as soon as possible, because when people start driving on it, it packs down, and then you have ice with more snow falling on top of it.
Depending on the weather, yeah.
Depending on what the weather conditions are. But I would think that everyone would have some common sense, and that if it's only a dusting that we're getting and we know it's gonna warm up, then they wouldn't be bothered to do that. But I think that's a bridge that if we see that happening, you know, it would certainly bear mentioning to the contractor that, you know, let's use a little common sense with it.
Because I'm sure he's budgeted in knowing that he's gonna have to plow. But, I'm wondering if you raise the, depth up that he doesn't start plowing at least 2 inches, if that would cut his cost down.
Well, probably, because he wouldn't be doing that first bit, but then if you're starting at 2 inches, by the time you get, you know, depending how much snow is falling, by the time you get around one route and back again, then you might have 5 or 6 inches.
But if it's only 2 inches on the road,
To start.
how many people plow their driveway with only 2 inches on it?
Most people do
Homeowners.
not.
Homeowners.
How many homeowners have, you know, 80 or 100 people driving down the road within hours of it coming down too. I mean, it's not.
No, if you only got a storm of 2 inches, you could, my driveway, if I was 2 inches.
My experience is they don't plow, they just put sand on it.
And then they plow it up.
Yeah.
And then they plow it later.
I was just looking at ways you might have cut your costs a little bit.
I think the reason that's in there is, the reason that that whole thing is in there is because, I'm pretty sure, is because you don't wanna have a contract, and he wouldn't do that anyway, cause he's had us for years, but you don't want somebody starting out with this 5 inches, I don't wanna go on that. There has to be some kind of a rule of thumb to go by to start with. You know, I know, like, I'm kinda like Mike, you know, you take the worst case scenario, the best case scenario, and you try to figure out where you're gonna be in the middle, but I think that's why that was in there, just so that they can't say, well, you know, in the future, if we had a different contractor, they can't say, well, you know, nobody told me, I thought it was 4 inches, so, you know, it has to have a rule of thumb to start somewhere, I think that's all that is, to be honest with you.
Again, I'm just going by past experience. You'll see an inch or 2 out there, and it's warm up to 40, and they go around
They don't,
somewhere else.
if it's an inch of snow, and they don't, and it's gonna warm up 45 degrees and more, they probably don't need to be out there.
I know, they are out there plowing, all you do is see sparks flying off the road.
Yeah, that's,
Frankly, in the last, I think, 3 years, we've had more compliments than complaints about the plowing, and I'd like to keep it that way. You know, I mean, people have
They did a
really
good
been
job, I
calling the town office and said, boy, the roads look great, you know, thank you. And this is the contract that we've had, so it's been working well for us, and I don't know that, you know, like everything else right now, cost of production of everything has gone up. I mean, the parts you need for your truck and everything else, so,
I know,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm just looking at where you might want to cut a little cost to put money elsewhere repairing the roads or something.
well, I don't know if it would be that much.
Well, no.
yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll watch this year because I'm working with Donnie on this, and with Timmy, so we'll see how things go. We've, put back the radios to the way they used to be, so there should not be any of this, leave the sand, leave the snow, put the sand down, and then
So far,
there
we're
goes
back.
the plow. So, they've all had a talking to on that, and everybody's agrees that they'll watch their radios, yeah, like they used to. Yeah.
So they weren't communicating,
There was a period of time they were not communicating.
but they had the radios.
They have the radios, they will communicate.
So,
Jason?
that Route 3, that's something that they kind of want the town to take over. is
Pretty
that what
much,
you-
because
yeah.
it's the internal one.
And it's only, I mean, it's 9 miles.
It would probably be the next one.
Yeah, I mean, how are you gonna make that call, whether you can absorb that or not? I
think
mean,
that-
it's pretty, it's down in District 2 mostly.
I think we get set this winter we'll have new people. We may not have a full staff. We get all settled, we see what we have for equipment,
Okay.
and then we figure out, can we do the next route?
Right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it doesn't seem like much, but it's still $27,000 over the course
No,
of
I agree, yeah.
a season, so.
I suspect we'll end up with that one, not this year, but the next year, and then Stanley will keep the outside route.
Yeah.
Because
still-
it
I
comes
kind of figured you.
We still have all the plowing equipment that we purchased not too long ago for Steve to use.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of finding a warm body to do it properly.
Yes, and there is a piece of equipment that probably won't be used as much, so they're rearranging things.
Okay.
So this will be kind of a shakedown year
Yes.
with new management in the department and whatnot. So we'll see how it goes this year
Yes, definitely.
and
Sure.
reassess.
Okay.
Any other discussion, counselors, regarding the snow plowing? Okay. All is ready to vote, please say aye regarding resolution 2187.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. We'll move on to 2188.
Resolution 21-88, resolved that the town council approve the filing and accepting of a grant of $300 from the Bates College Diverse Book Finder in partnership with the Brooks Foundation and Maine Humanities Council, and if approved, further authorize the town manager and librarian to expend the funds in accordance with the grant requirements and town regulations.
Move we adopt resolution 21-88.
Second.
Thank you. housekeeping item, we have a nice little grant from the library.
Yes, and there were no specific requirements for it.
Any discussion, counselors?
Can we just, on things like this in the future, do we really need to bring this up and vote on it, where somebody wants to give us free money and we don't have a match,
We
so
have to accept it, I think.
you always have?
It's a state law. What we do
Yes,
to cut down, because if we did this every time somebody brought, every time somebody brought in a special revenue to the town that wasn't a grant, we would be here all the time. So at the end of the year, we take care of all the recreation concessions, all the little donations to all the different accounts and everything. But during the year, if it's a grant, we do have to accept it. So we cut down all the rest of that, we got rid of it, but the grants, we really should accept.
The town manager has to be authorized to accept that too, so somebody.
Well, I just didn't know if we could just automatically give her permission and we don't have to see it.
Yeah,
Like kind of a
I wish
broad-
we could, but.
I think that-
It'd be awful nice to save time.
As a town council, we can't do that, just say anything under, let's say, $3,000, just, we'll let you accept it.
I was told no a long time ago by the Maine Municipal Association, and I asked because, the way that we operate here is getting all this money because we don't have a lot of tax dollars because the valuation of the town is low, so we have special revenues everywhere and grant money. But I was told each one needed to be accepted. I can double check again, but.
Well, we don't want Al Qaeda to send a check.
They wanna get free money, take it.
The other issue too is that sometimes there are items where there might be a match or there might be reporting or something that needs to be done. I know Pete raised some questions about, I think it was the Tabitha and Stephen King one that we got about what we needed to do. There was some
I always like to know
protocol
where strings
thing.
attached.
Yeah, we always want to know about strings attached.
I agree
Sometimes-
with that part.
If there's a
Sometimes
loan,
they do have strings attached.
if there's a loan or obligations you have to meet, yes, but if it's
Right.
just plain free money like this one, $300.
Yeah.
Well, why tie up our time doing that?
Yeah,
Because
because
the
it's a
state said we
grant.
had to.
Oh.
It's a grant.
It's crazy.
Well, we can do it quickly, or we can.
Okay.
I agree.
Brent, you'll see at the end of the year, all the articles we have, that we accept it all at once, even though I might have spent some of it, but we accept all of these other monies all at once and don't deal with it all year round.
Okay.
Because it doesn't say grant, it's just special revenue.
Good.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions or discussions?
Nope.
Okay. All those in favor of resolution 2188, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That will pass. Resolution 2189.
Resolution 21-89, resolved that the town council approve the filing and accepting of a grant of $2,750 from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, of 2021 and administered by the Federal Institute of Museum and Library Services, IMLS, through the Maine State Library, and further authorize the town manager and the librarian to expend the funds in accordance with the grant requirements and town regulations.
I move we adopt resolution 21-89.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brent. Any questions, counselors? In the federal grant.
Yes.
This
And
one
this
has
one
strings?
requires a report and to keep all the receipts.
Sound good.
Let's say it's a federal grant, of course it has
Yeah.
strings.
Well, obviously.
Well, it's not much compared to some, so that's good.
Isn't the American Rescue Plan Act this whole COVID giveaway
Yes, it is. It's the second part of
for a
it.
library?
They already had it before the town water, sewer, and all that came out.
It's called infrastructure.
Yeah, human infrastructure. Yeah, that's the new.
Any other discussion regarding the resolution, counselors? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That will pass. Resolution 21-90.
Resolution 21-90, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager to notify the state of Maine Department of Environmental Protection that the town accept the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, state grant funding in the amount of $498,210 for the Main Street Sewer Project, and further to authorize the town manager to execute all required paperwork for the award and expend the funds in accordance with the grant requirements and town regulations.
I move we adopt resolution 21-90.
Second.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions, counselors? This is for the Main Street project.
So, how much is this offsetting the cost, or is this covering the whole cost?
Yes, so I did run out some loan projections. The cost of the project for the Main Street sewer is $1,068,000. So we have received a grant, which is wonderful, of $498,210. That would leave $569,790 that would actually be the loan. So basically, I ran out 10 and 20-year projections on loans utilizing the rates that were at the Maine Municipal Bond Bank now. They could be different when we borrow, but the loan amounts are very low, going from 0.55 to 1.52. So basically, it cuts the cost of our interest and our principal in half, basically.
So,
It's really good.
maybe I have missed this, but have we already authorized that loan?
We applied for it, we accepted it, however, we have not gone forward with the actual issuance. We have not gone forward with that. We were going to, but then the grant started and came up. So you have to accept the grant first, and then the state will send you the loan authorization, so that we'll know how to warrant the article, for the ordinance.
Right, but the council has already approved getting a loan for that project.
You have approved that we're going to do it, but we have not gone forward and done the actual ordinance. It's a multi-step process. We sent the paperwork
Right,
back.
okay, this is my point though. If for some reason we don't accept that ordinance, or something happens where we can't get it, does this $498,000 and $498,210, does that go back to Uncle Sam?
That will go back to Uncle Sam, yes. Because it's for this specific project. We applied for the Main Street sewer project to fix different areas. The price that was indicated by Annalise, Oliver Associates, when they did their study, was $1,068,000. And then they made some changes to it, so we could have lowered it a little bit, but we still need to keep that amount to get the grant, because that's what we applied for, so we couldn't go back and change it. So if we don't go forward, everything goes away.
So as a follow-up, if I may, please, so if we do not get that loan, is it a possibility that we look at the Main Street sewer project and whittle it down to do the worst points for a total price of $498,210?
We won't be able to keep the money from the grant, because the only way we're getting the grant is because this extra money came through after they made their initial award.
So the grant says we can use that $498,000 if we do it all.
If we do all the places along the route that we've identified, yes.
So 498 is specifically for that job scope. If you
Correct.
change the job scope, you're gonna lose your 498.
Correct.
And then have to reapply if you
Yes.
downsize to a smaller.
Start over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It would be a different project, you would be starting over.
right, you change the scope.
And then we'd have to reapply for that grant.
If, let's say we get, I did ask, let's say somehow we get bids that were just wonderful prices and it was less than this, we would apply to try to use this balance on another road. However, we would not have our environmental permitting, so it would be hard to pick out a project, but we did have one of these happen in which the bids came in so low. It took us an extra couple of years, but we were able to use the balance on another project. I don't know if they would allow us to use the American Rescue funding on another project or not. They would allow you to use the loan.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
They're shutting off your loophole.
Any other questions, counselors? All those in favor of resolution 21-90, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That will pass. Counselors, Catherine, do we have any items under discussion this evening?
No, I would say the department reports are all self-explanatory. We have all of them. And it took a while to get them, but we did get them, and they'll do them now. Everybody just was overwhelmed with work. And you have all your financial reports too. You can take those home and look at them.
Reports this evening. Colonel Wiley, do you have anything to?
Well, I do. I apologize for being late. I see what's happening now as I take over this ROTC program. It's going to dominate my life. I'm still very concerned, and I'm going to make. I'll write you a formal memo because I don't want to see Pittsfield lose the ballet. It's been such a landmark asset, I think, for the culture of the town. And I did two things. Andre Bassa happened to be over to visit his son in Massachusetts, and he came up to see me. He and I had lunch together, and I told him what I was working on, and he surprised me by saying he would move back to Pittsfield and give up his residence in Petersburg in order to get such a thing going, so I won't take up your time with hit and miss. I'm going to put something in writing and maybe come before the town, because I think both these things, the ROTC and the future of the ballet. I did have a long conversation with Peter Biggu on the possibility of that land just north of Massawassick. He wants me to devote my energies, are you ready for this, towards refurbishing the old movie theater and turning that into the community center. Well, it could be done. It could be done. I mean, it would have to be more of a building than it is now. It would have to expand out both to the right and the left and in depth into the parking lot. But that was his reaction, and I was glad he was interested, and so I'll pursue these things and get them a little more formal and in writing before the town.
Okay, great. Thank you for the update. Mike, do you have anything else for us this evening?
Well, I do. And I didn't have anything before I came, but I sat here and listened to the chief mention that he had 2 certified officers in the pipeline. And I guess my question is why, and I'm not familiar with all of the discussions as far as the union goes and that sort of thing, because I've been down that road. But if you have 2 certified officers that you don't have to send to the academy, that's a heck of a savings. And if there's some reason in the union contract that says he can't hire them right now, that's a little absurd. So I guess my question is, why doesn't he just go hire them?
He could go hire them. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, I'm not familiar with it, but my suggestion is, if you got them, grab them.
He could make offers of employment to both of them tomorrow, as the union agreement is structured now with the $15,000 pay bonuses for signing bonuses that we've already put into effect. He could hire them tomorrow.
That's one heck of a savings if all you got to do is pay $15,000 to get a fully certified officer without spending 50, 60, 70,000 to send them to an academy. So anyway, thank you for that answer. I appreciate the work the council's doing for sure. I'm glad I'm not sitting here.
Oh, come on, you miss it.
Anything else?
Leave that mask on, I see your tongue sticking out over here.
Okay,
Thank you.
And if you're going to scoot, I just want to thank you for coming in and giving me an update on the peak information as well. And I think in the next month or so we should work on setting up a meeting schedule and kind of plugging away at that opportunity as well.
Certainly.
Thank you. Jason, do you want to start us off this evening?
I guess so. I just had a couple questions on the town manager report. It's on number 3. It said that we can't change the plan for the comprehensive plan? What, why is that? Is
Yeah.
that like a 10-year plan that
So,
is defined? or-
Yeah, in terms of, that's in terms of the several items that are no longer relevant. If we go in and change that plan, we have to go back and look at the whole plan and go through the state process again. So what we normally do is we'll create another document that will go along with the plan
Okay.
until we do a real change, not only little minor things.
Right. When is that plan due to be updated, do you know, or,
So the plans are supposed to be updated every 10 years under the law, however, they are not because there's not funding available for that.
Okay.
So it typically shows up about every 15 to 20 years,
okay.
usually 15.
All right, and then on this other part here, we were talking about crack sealing down to the airport.
Yes.
I was under the impression that that Caleb had done all the crack sealing had been done up to date, good to go, and that's why we were using all the funding for the hangar project and all that. And he said that the foreseeable future was that he didn't need crack sealing money, and now it's saying that we're going to use $32,000 from the American Rescue Plan.
So each year we do crack sealing. I think we missed one year, but each year we try to do some crack sealing to keep things up to date as much as possible. There are cracks at the airport. Caleb has notified me of an area that is severely cracked that he wants to have taken care of. So the only way to do crack sealing for us, that will be a little bit more than the $5,000 we were spending each year, is when we get the COVID monies and somehow we're able to use them for the crack sealing and go out and do a larger area. If it's kept crack sealed, we're going to be well beyond the 20-year period when we get monies from the FAA for the runway to be paved again.
Okay.
It was done in 2004. But there is an area that he has notified me is severely cracked and needs to be taken care of.
Okay, because earlier in the year he said that he was all up to date on his crack sealing, and that money wouldn't need to be used for that, for any of this, when he was trying to get the finances for the hangar and whatnot. So I just wanted to
So I think
clarify that,
yeah,
I guess.
what he may have meant is that
Well, I mean, you don't have to interpret what he said, that's okay, I mean, that's okay, I'm just,
well, there's sort of two crack sealing type of projects. There's our little crack sealing project in which we run out and try to keep things in order. We hire a professional. We don't do it ourselves.
Right.
We hire a professional. They go out and fix the cracks. And then there's the big crack sealing process. That is the one that in which the state has with the federal government overkill requirements, like the runway is an overkill on the pavement and everything that's done. So if you do the actual crack sealing that's paid for by the airport monies, it has to follow all these requirements, which is a major project. So he may have been talking about that and not this little crack sealing thing that we do.
oh, okay. Yep, that might be the case. And then, when we did our workshop last week, we were talking about the pump station down by the farm there, and that money could possibly come out of the 213,000 that was over the 600 in our in the what we needed on reserve.
Yes.
Can generator? I know earlier we approved like the generator to come out of this the COVID fund. Can the generator come out of that other 213 instead, and this COVID money, instead of spending $70,000 of that, where you can use it in multiple places, use the 213 towards the generator, which is only allocated for sewer and water? Can we do that instead?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I know I think we've already voted on it.
Yeah, it's a good idea. However, the monies that are in the sludge removal reserve, which can be used for sewer projects, is only for sewer and sludge. So the generator is at the water plant.
Water.
Yeah. The water doesn't have as much money. It doesn't do as good as the sewer does.
Technicalities, I
I know.
It's fun, isn't it?
It's a good idea,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. And then, do you have a list of what we can use the COVID money for? Is there like an easy?
I wish there
Well,
was. We've
no,
been trying to
yeah.
interpret the
Yeah, I don't wanna
federal
do-
law.
yeah, I
It
don't wanna
changes
do-
constantly.
I just want a little cheat sheet of what I can
Yeah.
use it for.
When we get to the point where we actually get something that's readable, that we
Okay.
can really tell and not have to keep calling up with questions on, everybody will get that. Because the monies for the actual COVID monies under the American Rescue Act is a little bit over 400,000, but all of the documents on the MMA website where they were estimating it out are all gone now, now that the state would be sending the money. But we're on the second 30-day delay in which they negotiate and work out sending out the checks. And I mean, I had to sit down and issue, like 81 checks. I mean, I don't see why they can't just issue the checks, but it's beyond us. It's at the state level. So hopefully we'll get that money soon, and when we do, we should get instructions with it that are clearer than the federal requirements, paperwork from the federal government.
Is that-
All set? Okay.
I think so.
All right, thank you. Mike?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Brent?
I got a couple things. One, on number 5, the horse-drawn wagons is, we'll say the population keeps increasing with horse-drawn wagons. Down the road, do you think there may become an ordinance for, out of courtesy, usually people with their dogs have to pick up a mess. And you see more and more horse-drawn mess along the roads. I'm not on the main road, but I wouldn't want that in front of my house.
We have talked about that, and we do have some language on animal waste that we did generate through the ordinance committee, and then we generated some other ideas. And because the problem, the big problem that was going on seemed to slow down a lot, we left it alone, but we do have it on the back burner.
Okay. It wouldn't take much, they make them little bags that hang on the back of them that they could use.
Yeah, they don't like that, but.
One of the things I don't like, the other thing,
Contract with the composting.
the other old subject, the water shut off on everybody's house out by the curb. Is down on that, or is the homeowner?
All right, so the water,
The main water shut off valve.
all right, the water must be the town because the sewer wasn't.
Right.
Okay.
Because when I bring that up, I know a couple residents, they had problems in their house, and the water shut off outside didn't work. So I was just wondering do we ever go around and have somebody find where the water shut off's off for each house, and then, because it takes them long, 6 or 8 foot long rods, go down in there and just turn it and make sure it will actually move. Because a lot of them
That's something I'll mention to Annalise. I think they used to do that a long time ago.
Yeah. Or you can just pour some type of vegetable oil or something down there to keep it lubricated. Because, if it's stuck, you're going to shut the whole street down in order to fix that valve.
Yeah, they've been through that.
Yeah. Okay. And the last thing I have is there was a potential environmental issue that occurred on town property, and some residents wanted to get the DEP involved. I ended up getting hold of Donnie, and I will say it was very impressive. Donnie, the very next morning, had the town crew down there with the excavator and dump truck and addressed it, so the issue was put aside immediately, so it didn't become a DEP environmental issue.
Donnie is very good
Yeah,
with the rules and things, and that's part of what he'll be teaching the other staff members.
It was very impressive. He did an excellent job.
I'll let him know. Thank you.
What was that? What are you talking about?
It was some stuff that the town is cleaning out, but dumping on town land, which then drains onto other property, which is no
Yeah,
bueno.
things that should be simple that you would know not to do.
Right, yeah, but Donnie addressed it and asked me to correct the situation. Excellent job.
All set? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Pete, do you have anything this evening?
I don't have anything this evening.
Okay, thank you. Tim?
Yes, I'll try to be brief. I wanted to, first of all, congratulate Caleb and the town, and Catherine and her staff for the airport grant, and all that moving along with the sidewalk and the Main Street project moving along.
Money is everywhere.
We have a phenomenal amount of grants, and I know there's hours and hours and hours of time being put into that by Catherine, by other staff as well. And I want to say, I appreciate all the hard work that's going on. It seems like an awful lot of we just keep getting more and more and more laws all the time, but no names, but I can tell you guys a little humorous story. I remember back in the 1970s, urban renewal went through a town and fixed up some houses. This wasn't in this town. And they fixed up this guy's barn, and the guy ran out of firewood, so he cut his main beams down in his barn to keep his house warm. So every time the wind blowed his barn, swayed right back and forth. So this is part of the reason why we have all these silly rules now, is because we get silly people that do silly things. The snow plowing thing, I'm pretty sure that I have complete faith in Donnie. He'll keep an eye on that, and if he thinks that it's looking kind of silly, he'll talk to contract. He'll keep that all straight. I think the roads are. I think we're going to have a cold, snowy winter, and I think that it's good that we get it straightened around now. I know in the future he'll be looking to give that up, and we'll have to do S&G. We'll have to do something different. Otherwise than that, boy, I'll tell you, the town looks good. I went down to Manson Park, like I said. I know I keep bringing that up, but I was down there. Wife and I went down there, and it was 4 different events going on down there. I mean, baseball, tennis, you name it. I mean, there was, I swear there's 200 cars down there. And that's good. I mean, I really like to see our facilities used. That hasn't happened for a while. So that tells me that things are starting to move. And that's good. That and the pain in the behind with all the construction work, which I hate sitting there, but I have to tell myself, that's progress. If the roads aren't being worked on now, you got an issue. So, I think things are moving along in town, and Colonel Wiley, I'm glad you came in. I commend you for working on that. And Mike, I apologize I couldn't be at the last peak meeting. Unfortunately, I had something came up unexpectedly, and but I will try to make the next one. And I think our town, I mean, we, despite what problems we do have, I think it's moving in a good direction. I think if you look at our town compared to several other towns around, I'm not going to name names, I think we are head and shoulders above where some of these towns are digging right out of the bottom, starting all over, and we're not doing that. So I commend that. I'm looking forward to the cheese guild. You're going to have to, I told you I'd help you out this year, and I'm going to need to get with you and have you remind me when it gets a little bit closer what you need me to do, or what times you need to be done. I know that's nuts and bolts stuff. It doesn't have to happen tonight, but I do want to help out in that if I can.
So we heard you were going to volunteer for the town booth.
The town booth. I
mentioned at the peak. I volunteered you at the peak meeting.
Oh, okay.
What a trooper, Tim. That's awesome.
This town is going to have a booth, and
You'll be a greeter.
You're going to look for people to kind of talk about the town and show them. I think you might come up with some way to show the video to people while they're there, and yeah. So maybe you could be a town ambassador.
Town ambassador means I don't have. Does that mean I get to wear one of them cheese outfits,
well,
or the cheese fairy outfit? You want to talk about
Mike
scaring?
is going to be lonely if you don't do fairy wings.
I was going to say if I don't. I was going to say I might scare him away.
I need my wingman part of the fun.
But no, I think the town is doing well. And the other thing I wanted to say, and this has nothing to do with our town, but I mean it does and it doesn't. On a serious note, I hope and pray that we get everybody safely out of Afghanistan. Our troops, our people that help with interpreters, our volunteer people, the Afghanis. We need to get our people out of there before something terrible happens. And I keep my fingers crossed. I pray every day for our troops and our civil contractors and all that. We don't need any more bloodshed. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. As everybody else, keep their fingers crossed for because that's a very touchy situation. It could get ugly real quick. I don't think it will, but it could. So that's the only big concern that I have this week, other than town stuff. But I think our town is in good shape. That's all I have.
Thanks, Tim. I just have a couple things tonight. I want to thank Chief Vic Moore for taking the time to acknowledge some of the active service of our officers and community members. We're really lucky to have such distinguished service in our town, both from our officers and our community. You know, we don't often see the things that they do. And so it's really nice to be able to publicly acknowledge the things that they do when it warrants that. Congratulations to Marty Cochran on his promotion to sergeant. Thank you, Mike, again for coming in and giving us an update on Peaks activities. And kudos to the library staff for all the grants that they've been getting as well. I know Holly's always on the lookout for other programming, and if you watch the Facebook feed on the library, they just have all kinds of things going on, from story hour to petting zoo to all different kinds of things. And so that's always good to hear. And same thing as Tim. I mean, I don't get down to the park very much because I kind of have a 100-acre park of my own to wander around. But you know, I see people posting pictures of walking their dogs and doing things with their kids and stuff like that. And the park really is beautiful this year. Catherine mentioned the certificate for the garden club for the planters at the back of the building, and they've just exploded in the last 2 weeks. I think they're huge. But you know, the town really does look pretty spiffy with all the flowers and the plantings and everything. So you know, it takes a village to make that happen. There's been a lot of volunteers doing that, so thank you to everyone that's had a part in that. Aside from that, yes, Cheese Festival is coming up. Press release is going out to the Rolling Thunder with information on how to sign up to do volunteers. I'll see if Heart of Pittsfield can also share that, and I'll share it on our farm Facebook page as well. And of course, it'll be on the Cheesefield website and the festival website. I think that's it. We have committee meetings coming up next week for finance and ordinance. If you have interest in those, come attend those. And then tomorrow night, you said, is recycling. Always looking for more people for the recycling committee. And Catherine mentioned there haven't been that many people interested in the Pittsfield Celebration Committee, so we can definitely use some interested citizens stepping up and putting together some programming for next year, so we can celebrate the June 19th for the, should be the 202nd, right, anniversary of the town next year. So, and with that, I will look for a motion.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
We are adjourned. Thank you, Dom. And don't forget to sign the extra sheet that Catherine had regarding the one that was printed from the folder.
You gotta get called now.
It's all here.
Oh, it's in that one? It's already in there?
The garden club?
No, there was one, the very first one was missing.
Yeah, I looked at it just before the meeting and saw that the ordinance was missing, so I ran upstairs to do it.
Brought up. Cross. One side of the church.
I'm just antelope. I would call worse. I'm good with that.